When people talk about the greatest TV detectives of all time, the same names come up. Sherlock Holmes, Columbo, Adrian Monk, Hercule Poirot, and those are all fair. But there is one name that almost never makes that list, and should. Shawn Spencer, the fake psychic from Santa Barbara who cracked real murder cases for 8 seasons using nothing but his own mind, wrapped in the most elaborate, ridiculous performance in television history. This is the full breakdown of why Shawn Spencer is not just great. He is the most underrated detective TV has ever produced. Where he comes from. To understand Shawn Spencer, you have to understand Henry Spencer. Shawn's father was a career Santa Barbara police detective, disciplined, methodical, and absolutely convinced that his son had a gift that needed to be developed. From the time Shawn was a child, Henry turned everyday life into a training ground. Dinner was a memory test. Car rides were observation drills. Every outing became a lesson in noticing, cataloguing, and remembering. Henry didn't ask Shawn if he wanted this. He just built it into him, one exercise at a time, whether Shawn liked it or not. Shawn resented every second of it. He wanted a normal childhood, to watch cartoons and eat cereal, and not have his father quizzing him on the license plates of passing cars. He grew up brilliant and miserable about it, and the moment he was old enough, he rejected everything Henry had tried to build. He dropped out of the police academy. He drifted through dozens of jobs, never staying in one place long enough for any of it to matter. He spent his 20s using his extraordinary abilities for basically nothing, picking up skills, running minor cons, living impulsively, because committing to anything felt too much like admitting his father was right. That backstory matters, because it is the foundation of everything Shawn does for 8 seasons. Every joke, every deflection, every ridiculous psychic performance is connected to a man who was given an extraordinary gift by someone he had a deeply complicated relationship with, and who spent years refusing to use it the way it was intended. Understanding that makes Shawn Spencer a far more interesting character than the surface-level comedy suggests. The gift Shawn Spencer's observational abilities are genuinely extraordinary. He can walk into a crime scene and immediately register details that trained investigators completely miss. A scuff mark on the wrong side of a shoe, a tan line that doesn't match someone's story, the angle of a shadow that makes a timeline impossible. His memory is essentially photographic. His pattern recognition is instantaneous, and his ability to read people, to pick up on emotional cues, nervous habits, inconsistencies in body language, is just as sharp as his ability to read physical evidence. That last point is what separates him from most TV detectives. The classic analytical detective, your Sherlocks, your Monks, operates primarily on evidence and logic. Shawn does that too, but he layers it with an emotional and social intelligence that pure logic detectives often lack entirely. He doesn't just read the room, he reads the people in the room. He understands why people lie, what they're protecting, and how to get the truth out of them in a way that goes beyond interrogation. That combination, evidence plus people, makes him uniquely effective in ways the show rarely stops to acknowledge directly. The performance. The fake psychic act is the most visible part of who Shawn is, and it is worth talking about on its own terms because it is genuinely brilliant comedy. The flailing, the dramatic visions, the pressing of fingers to temples, the elaborate theatrical performances in front of suspects and detectives. James Rode Rodriguez plays all of it, with a physical and comedic precision that makes it look effortless. The bit never gets old across 8 seasons, because Rode keeps finding new ways to escalate it, new contexts to drop it into, and new reactions to mine from the people around him. But the performance is also doing something more interesting than pure comedy. It is Shawn's shield. The psychic act gives him plausible deniability. It lets him be right without having to explain how he's right, which protects the secret of his abilities and keeps him from having to fully commit to the identity his father always wanted him to have. The joke is the armor. And once you see that, every ridiculous vision sequence lands differently. The character underneath the comedy, the easy read on Shawn, is that he's a lovable goofball who stumbles through cases cracking jokes. And that reading isn't wrong, but it's incomplete. Shawn uses humor as armor in a way that is consistent, deliberate, and deeply revealing once you start paying attention. When things get serious, Shawn makes a joke. When someone gets too close emotionally, Shawn deflects. When a case hits somewhere personal, Shawn turns up the theatrics. The comedy is not separate from the character. It is the character's primary defense mechanism, and it is doing real emotional work in every single episode. Underneath all of that is someone who is genuinely insecure about his own worth outside of what he can do. Shawn's identity is almost entirely built around his abilities. The observation, the deduction, the performance. Take those away, and he doesn't know who he is. That insecurity is what drives his fear of commitment, his reluctance to tell Juliet the truth about being psychic, and his complicated need for his father's approval, even while he pretends he stopped caring about it a long time ago. These are not surface-level character traits. These are the bones of a fully realized person. Shawn and Henry. The most important relationship in Psych is not Shawn and Gus, as much as that friendship defines the show's tone. It's Shawn and Henry. The dynamic is the emotional core of the entire series. A son who was pushed too hard by a father who loved him in the only way he knew how, and who spent years refusing to become what that father wanted, only to end up doing exactly that anyway. Just in his own way, on his own terms, wearing a ridiculous hat and claiming to be psychic. The scenes between Shawn and Henry are some of the best acted moments in the show. Corbin Burnson plays Henry with exactly the right mix of pride, frustration, and love, and Roday matches him every time. There is a moment in the later seasons where Henry tells Shawn directly that he's proud of him. And the way Roday plays, the reaction tells you everything about how long Shawn has been waiting to hear that. It's a small moment in a comedy show on a cable network, and it hits like a freight train. That is the kind of writing and performing this show was capable of and never got enough credit for. His arc across 8 seasons, Shawn Spencer grows across 8 seasons, in ways that are easy to miss because the show never slows down long enough to announce it. But it's there. He starts the series as someone who is almost pathologically allergic to commitment, to his career, to Juliet, to the truth about who he is. He ends it having told the truth, having committed fully to the person he loves, and having built a life in Santa Barbara that is unmistakably, authentically his. Not Henry's version, not the fake psychic version. His. That arc is earned across hundreds of episodes of small moments. A hesitation here, a genuine conversation there. A case that lands too close to home and cracks something open. Psych earns its emotional payoffs because it builds them quietly, underneath all the jokes, across years of television. That is genuinely hard to do, and it is the reason Shawn Spencer is a more complete character than he ever gets credit for being. Why he's the most underrated detective on TV, Shawn Spencer gets left out of the great detective conversation for one reason. He's funny. And that's it. The observational skills are there. The case solving is there. The emotional complexity is there. The fully realized arc across 8 seasons is there. But because he wraps all of it in jokes and fake psychic visions, critics and audiences filed him under comedy and moved on. That's a mistake. Strip away the performance, and what you have is one of the most gifted, layered, and human detectives television has ever produced. The comedy isn't evidence that he's shallow. It's evidence that the show trusted its audience to look past it, and most people never did. Shawn Spencer is funny, brilliant, emotionally complicated, and one of the best written characters in television history. The fact that he doesn't come up in the great detective conversation isn't a reflection of the character. It's a reflection of how badly we underestimate comedy. Shawn Spencer deserves better.